Welcome back to Tac Ops. I'm Greg, and I have Eric here as always.
Howdy, howdy.
And that's all we have today. No guest this time. We're going to go over some news, different things that's going on. But first, our sponsor is the Commando Store. They're an online military surplus store. They have a whole bunch of stuff on there. In fact, Eric, you found some interesting things they have for sale right now, right?
Yeah, so they're selling flour. Prepare your household with some bulk flour, right? So, looks like they got a deal from the North Dakota Mill. You can buy 50 pounds of flour for 25 bucks. And so I didn't really know what this was. I was kind of confused on why this dude's selling flour. But man, I'm telling you what, one bag for 50 days, right? So one person with a 50-pound bag can feed you for 7 weeks, right? 25 bucks.
Wow.
So I'm sure you have to cook it. I'm sure there's a little bit more to it. You can't just eat flour out of the bag for 7 weeks. But, you know, there's, it I mean, it's legit, right? He's been talking about this for a while. Like, the flour is probably going to be your best way to go. It's actually better than rice, pound for pound. So if you're going to have something stored, when it comes to like the essentials, probably the way to go. And he's got deals on, large amounts. So 200-day supply for 100 bucks, multiple bags of it. So you can almost get it in pallet size if you wanted to. So, and he's still selling COVID equipment too. So if you guys need some equipment, and they still have the deal going on with EMS. Let me pull the little thing up so you guys can see it. But they have the deal for EMS, fire, police, hospitals. If you need vital supplies, you can contact them directly, and they'll sell it to you at or below cost. So just hit them up on there. And I love the Commando store. We've been dealing with them for almost a year now, and I love these guys. They're so unique. They go from selling World War II replica Russian gun holsters to wheat flour.
Flour.
I love these guys, man. They're such a cool sponsor. So make sure you guys check them out for sure.
Yeah, and it's a Commando Store, Commando with a K, store.com. You get 5% off your first order. Our coupon code is TACOPS, all over space. No space in between there. Get 5% off your first order. All right, Eric, you have some topics to go over. A lot of stuff has been happening recently. Starting out with the first one I know you wanted to talk about was Tortuga, the Battle of Tortuga.
The Battle of Tortuga, yeah. So I guess I don't think it's the official name. It's just what they've been calling it online and stuff. I think it's a funny name, but there's been kind of a naval battle that happened over the last 2 days between the Venezuelan. Actually, before we talk about that, I have to talk about this cat real quick, because the reason I say that is because randomly the way Streamlabs works is if I'm switching between screens, it's going to show my background screen, and I have a background screen of this cat. So this cat is Musha, the Russian mascot cat for the Staria Skull, the Kilo class B262. So I just want to make sure you guys know that I'm not like trying to like randomly show you some cat for some random reason, but it's a super cool cat. They have cat mascots for a lot of their submarines. They actually breeded this cat with another one from the Northern Fleet to have kittens. That's what this little picture is right here. So you guys know. So I just wanted to explain that real quick. But the Battle of Tortuga, to get into the actual side of all this. So we caught a battle, not necessarily a traditional naval battle that you would think of, two warships going at it. This was more of a Venezuelan, and so just so you guys know, just like our coronavirus episode, this is still unraveling. So if I tell you something, it may be different tomorrow. I'm just trying to give you the best information that we can. But the so the Battle of Tortuga, you have a Venezuelan warship and you have a passenger ship. So from what I understand, this passenger ship was transiting to another part of the area, and they had stopped to do engine maintenance. And so Venezuela decided to I guess investigate. That's a really, we don't really understand like why Venezuela was there. They just decided to come up on what they call the Resolute, the RCGS Resolute, and
Yeah, well, what I heard was though that this cruise ship, the passenger ship, was having engine problems,
Right.
and who knows if that's true or not. But it was having engine problems, and they had stopped to repair it, and they're saying that it might have drifted then inside Venezuelan water, so that's
Yeah.
why they went to go investigate it.
Right. It's and that's kind of, hearsay, and we'll talk about later, right? So, I guess that's what it was, right? So I didn't hear that. So the Venezuelan warship, I don't even know if I have it pulled up, honestly, but man, I don't know what I did with it. Let me see. I had this all cleaned up, so it'd be nice and quick, but I moved it. Anyways, sorry. The Venezuelan warship, I guess, decided to at one point ram the uh, the um, the Resolute. So when they hit this Resolute, they didn't understand, and you can see from the paint job, they didn't understand that this was a reinforced passenger ship that was designed to also be kind of an icebreaker, right? And so anybody that knows anything about naval ships, icebreakers, you don't mess with icebreakers because icebreakers are literally designed to ram stuff. That is what they are designed to do, right? So you don't necessarily want to ram something designed to ram something. So they rammed into this Venezuelan warship, and I'll pull it up just a second. I'm sorry, I don't have the ship up right now, but and you can see just the minimal damage. I think it looks like they just folded the metal. They didn't even shift any of the structure anywhere on the front of this just itty bitty front of the ship. This is just the front tip of the ship. This isn't even the main structure of the main hull. This is just just the very point of it. And so I wanted to pull back out real quick and show you guys the. Oh, sorry, I got it pulled up. So this is the oil slick that you found, Greg, on Sentinel Hub, and you can see. So this is Tortuga in the bottom right, and you were saying that it was how many kilometers from Tortuga?
Oh, let me check again. Hold on. 30 kilometers from the very tip of Tortuga to the closest point of that oil slick.
Yeah, so 30
And
kilometers.
I believe they said the ship was heading west. So yeah, or even longer. 30 kilometers at the shortest.
Right.
Up to, I guess I could measure it real quick. Up to 45 kilometers at the longest point of the oil slick. Yeah, this image was taken. So supposedly this happened in the early hours of March 30th, 2 a.m. or something like that. And this image was taken around 8 or 9 a.m. I'm not sure. Local time, Venezuelan time is a little bit weird. So I'm not sure the exact time, but around 8 or 9 a.m., 6, 7, 8 hours after it happened.
Yeah, definitely. So I want to pull up. So Conflict. If you guys don't follow Conflicts W on Twitter, they're amazing. So they actually have a video. I'm gonna leave the sound off just because it does get really loud at one point. But you can see this is an edit. It's a heavily edited video of the collision. So you can see this is this is from the Venezuelan warship side. You can see it already starts where the ship is. It looks like it's already rammed the boat. You can see whatever this thing is down here, some kind of side railer, I'm sure, that just got knocked over by it getting hit. You can see almost no damage to the Resolute. It looks like it was completely unscathed. So here is, let me scroll back just a little bit so you can see how real it is. That's water right there. So this ship is flooding at this point. This video is no joke. Like they've been hit. They're flooding at this point. You can really see them scrambling around. There's probably up to their, the middle of their shins, almost to their knees at this point with water. So, yeah, and it's it's really kind of dark. You can't really see what's going on. It almost looks like it's snowing with all the stuff in the air, but maybe it's just bad quality. But you just see the Resolute just kind of bouncing there. There's no real context. You don't know the angle of the boat. You don't know what's going on. So it's really hard to understand what's going on from that video. But that's that's one of the things you see. So what Venezuela says is basically, the Resolute hit the back of their ship as they were trying to get away from it, which, who you can't really tell from that video. This right here, I'm not gonna play because it's in Spanish and it's not translated, so we don't have a whole lot of Spanish speaking followers. So I'm not just gonna sit there and play it so you guys can hear it. But it's the transcripts from the Venezuelan side of the radio transmissions that happen back and forth between the I guess it's the Niaguata and the Resolute. So anyways, so back to the oil slick. So yeah, so this is the oil slick you see because that Venezuelan warship went. It went the whole context. If you're the good person, you show them, run into your ship and run away and show as much as you can, right? And so you don't really see that with all of this. And I think it's really interesting. And they call it the Battle of Tortuga. It's where a passenger icebreaker somehow ran into a Venezuelan warship. So I was wondering
it's a new ship too, and it's not that old. It was only commissioned in 2011.
Right.
And it's a nice looking ship for the most part, especially for Venezuela. If you look at it, do you have the Wikipedia pulled up?
Yeah. Let me pull up
an image of it.
Yeah, let me pull up the Wikipedia real quick. The GC-23. GC-23.
And the funny part is it's got a mix of all different. So the main gun is an Italian-made gun, and then it's got the Oerlikon Millennium 35 millimeter cannon out the back of it, which is a German-made gun. I believe it's a couple other weapons are made by different countries too, so it's kind of a hodgepodge of all different nations helped to construct this or added their parts to it. But yeah, it's a decent looking. It looks like it's built to be low observable. And
there you go. Sorry, I clicked on the wrong one.
Awesome.
There we go. So yeah, it's a patrol boat. It's a Coast Guard boat essentially. It's pretty small. I mean, there's not a whole lot to it, but yeah, it's kind of a hodgepodge of stuff. It's got a helicopter pad on the back. It looks like this picture actually has a drone or something kind of mounted to the back. I don't know what that is up there. But yeah, I mean, not a whole lot to it. Just a small gun up front, bunch of radar. It looks like a Coast Guard boat. And they decided to challenge this
cruise ship.
Man.
And they're saying that correct me if I'm wrong, I think you read more about this than I have, but the Venezuelan side, so first of all, the cruise ship side, they're saying that their engine broke down. They were sitting there. They were out of Venezuelan waters, outside, which is normally this is what we were talking about before we started, right, Eric?
Right.
It normally extends 12 miles off the coast,
right,
and that would include an island. So 12 miles off the coast of an island, that's your territorial waters. This was almost certainly outside of it, at least according to that oil slick. It was further than 12 miles out, more about, 20?
Right.
And maybe it could have drifted inside of Venezuelan waters while it was trying to repair its engine.
Oh, sorry.
When the ship came. And then Venezuela is saying that they had called the ship repeatedly and told them that they wanted to bring them to port and see what they're doing in their waters. And they went out there to go try to get it. And they said the cruise ship rammed them, right? That's
right.
what they're saying. And
right.
And that little drawing, that diagram you have there showing as if the cruise ship took off and just slammed right into the side of it.
Right. Yeah, and think about it like on the other side, right? So let's say you're this passenger ship, and let's say they want to board them, right? Because from the past history of this, of the Resolute, they've got some real bad money issues from what I've seen. They've been arrested a few times. The Resolute, the company that owns the Resolute, hasn't been paying port charges and stuff like that, so they owe a lot of money to the naval ports and stuff like that in the area. So they've been arrested and boarded a few times, and so they have a pretty crazy history. So it's really weird because you would think like maybe Venezuela would say, "Hey, look, they owe us a bunch of money" or something like that. There's nothing like that. They haven't played on that context or anything. So that was the only negative side I could find anything with the Resolute, was they're just not paying their bills. So I assumed at the beginning, like, maybe they didn't pay Venezuela because they ported there somewhere, right? So now they're trying to get their money just like everybody else has, because this isn't anything new for that ship. We've seen this before, but they weren't getting shot at. I mean, just look at this picture right here. This is the very first screen. That is what looks like an AK-47, maybe a 74, and you can watch this guy shoot at the boat. Boom, 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 boom. He's shooting at that boat right there. Like they're not messing around. Like,
Yeah, the boat's shooting back or something.
so, this is going to unravel really oddly, because, this wasn't a warship. Like, this wasn't in traditional context. They didn't come across somebody that should have taken them out. And that thing destroyed that thing. I mean, it's gone. They're not getting that ship back. That's an oil slick. They are not getting that back.
It's been a bad few years for warships running into civilian ships, huh?
Yeah.
There was a couple, obviously, with the U.S. a few years back.
Yeah, I mean,
They
you got
didn't sink though, but this was a smaller vessel.
yeah, the Fitz and the McCain. I mean, but they ran into giant cargo ships. Like, obviously, like you don't want to run into skyscrapers. Floating on the ocean, but. They ran into a ship they thought they could win. That's what it seems like. From what I've been hearing, kind of rumor-ish, like, don't take this for or should I say take this with a grain of salt, but they were trying to turn the Resolute towards Venezuela. So they were trying to ram the front of the Resolute, which is why you see the front of it so damaged, to turn it towards Venezuela so that they could force it into Venezuelan waters to seize it. And that's why I think this is why it's outside of their boundaries, and that's why you see the damage. Then that's why they tried to turn them to bring them back into their waters, and they lost. They lost to a freaking passenger ship. That's like the worst thing to lose to. You might as well lose to I don't know, a bus. Like, how do you lose to a passenger ship? That seems so stupid to me. I don't know. And they did. They lost. That's intelligence for you, right? They probably didn't know that thing was an icebreaker. They could have just got on. I bet they could have got on Taker Trackers or, whatever it is, Sentinel Hub or, whatever it is. Look up the Resolute. Oh, it's an icebreaker. Yeah, you probably shouldn't ram it. Yeah, they did. So, I mean, that's easy shit. That's easy shit. And I think that's why it's so funny. It's because they lost one of their few warships to a freaking passenger liner. A small passenger liner.
Yeah, and then the next part of it, too, is the people in the ocean, right? So they were saying the survivors, the sailors, were not. Venezuela was saying that the cruise ship just got out of there and left them all to drown, didn't try to rescue them.
Right.
And then the cruise ship side, the other people's side, is that the cruise ship stayed around until it verified it wasn't needed for the rescue, and so another vessel was on its way to go rescue. And I believe no one died too, right?
Yeah, as far as I know, no one died. Venezuela would be blowing that shit up. Oh, we lost all these people because of this passenger liner. Like, it'd be a big deal. I haven't seen anything at all whatsoever that anybody died, so. Yeah, I mean, it's a freaking. It's just. I don't even know what to say. The Battle of Tortuga. It's a weird one, but. It's where
Tortuga.
you see
You never even heard about Tortuga unless you're watching like a Pirates of the Caribbean movie or something like that.
Yeah. Most people don't even know what Tortuga is. Let me pull it up. It is a deserted nothing island, but Venezuela claims it as part of their area, and it's just enough to where you could force that ship into it and seize it. That's a big oil slick. It's almost the size of the island.
Yeah, it stretches 5-6 miles long.
Yeah, this may take a second because we're streaming and stuff. But anyways, I'm going to kill this so it doesn't kill the stream.
Yeah,
anyways.
I have it pulled open too. It seems to be. And let me know if my audio is kind of dropping in and out. You're dropping in and out a little bit on my end. I'm
Okay.
catching
All right.
Word.
Anyways. So, what's the next thing I want to talk about? I think we kind of beat that up
The
to death.
train derailing.
Yeah, so the train derailing.
This one's a weird one.
So USNS Mercy. So I'm gonna pull up the Navy Times website so you guys can kind of see some of the pictures. There's not a whole lot to this. I figured there would be a lot more like drone views of this train, but so we all know about coronavirus rolling through the United States. The Navy sent the USNS Mercy from San Diego to the port of Los Angeles. They also sent the USNS Comfort up to New York City, right? So I'm sure you've seen all these pictures and stuff online about these two hospital ships floating into these ports. So the USNS Mercy pulls into Port of Los Angeles. This guy named Eduardo Marino, I'm going to say right now, no relation. So don't be throwing no conspiracy theories at me.
I thought that.
Yeah.
I almost messaged you about that. I'm like, Derek, this is one of your people.
Yeah, he's like my old brother, right? I think he's like 44 or something like that. But he said that there was something suspicious about the Mercy because of the virus, and he decided he's one of the railroad engineers. He's like I guess this is what they call conductors. He's in charge of this train, and he decides that he wants to run this train into the Mercy. So he runs this thing, from what I understand, he runs it through 2 parking lots, through a steel fence, a gated fence, through another train piece. This whatever this container is right here. Ran it through that, and then ran it through this fence, and then hit this dump truck, and then stopped right here, about 250 yards short of the Mercy. So, yeah, about 2.5 footballs short, 2.5 football field short. And I thought that was kind of funny because he didn't even get any close. But I mean, this dude was legit.
His statements too, yeah, his statements were funny. He's like, "Oh, I knew it was this is up to no good. It's part of a government takeover, a military takeover of the country, and I did this so the whole world will now know about it. They'll all see and they'll have evidence and they'll all believe me now." Yeah, no one believes you. Everyone thinks you're crazy now, and now you're going to spend the next 20, 30 years of your life in jail for domestic terrorism.
Yeah, and you didn't even get close. Like, how would you? I don't understand how that train would have gone, because it seems like it went really far, to be honest. I mean, it went through 2 parking lots, through like multiple structures. I mean, it went far, but man, you just didn't kick that punt far enough, man. Like, it got close, but it's just that field goal didn't make it. Like it. Oh man. That's so you look at the there's only been one battle in history with the Navy with a train, and it's the Barb, right? So you had Fluckey, Admiral Fluckey, who I think he shot it with a rocket, if I remember right. He was a gangster. He was like shooting stuff on ports with rockets from submarines and stuff. Rockets, right? Not guided missiles, like rockets. Like just fling that thing out there and hope it hits something. And I think he hit a train or something like that. If you look at the Barb's if you look at their record of kills, one of them's a train. But yeah, man, I can't believe it. That's just the Mercy out of everything, right? We saw all of these ships in the past that have gotten attacked, right? And never by a train. Like, you could do pretty much anything you want, but a train is pretty I think that seems like it's like he obviously said that he didn't have any prior thought to it. He was just like, I went to work and I was just like, I gotta take this thing out. Here's what I got. I got a train. We're gonna run this fucking train into this thing.
I didn't think it through.
Yeah, man. But like when you have people, and that's why I really harp on people that have access to large networks of people and that have the narrative. Because if you go out there and you start saying, the Mercy's out there just breeding coronavirus, they're bringing that in just to breed more of it or whatever, some dude is gonna go, okay, I need to take my train and take that motherfucker out, right? Like somebody, like, we don't have a lot of viewers, right? We have thousands at this point, but one of them could be that person that takes that train and goes, fuck it, take this thing out, right? And
It's a train conductor.
yeah, I would never think that. Maybe you're just sitting there going like, yeah, we need to take this thing out, blah blah blah. You would never think of a train conductor. It'd just be like maybe like a port worker that's sitting there, changing out lights that decides to shoot the boat up or whatever, right? You would never think of a fucking train conductor just running the train into the ship and not even getting close. By the way, you can kind of tell the thought process of it, but. It's a crazy world, man.
Now, what do you think the train would have actually done? How much damage? I mean, that was so far away. So even if this train did make it all the way to the ship, do you think it would have done any more damage than the Venezuelan Coast Guard ship to the cruise ship?
Oh yeah. Oh totally.
So obviously, it's got to go that whole distance. It's going to be slowing down.
The thing about the Mercy is it's so big. Like if it was like a submarine, more than likely the train would probably fall on it and kind of push it out of the way because it's small. But the Mercy's so big, that thing's not going to move. I think that train would probably go right through the side of that thing and just completely destroy the entire thing. I think he had if he was right about something, he was right about if he was going to take that train out, that ship out, that'd probably be the only way to do it. You're not going to, you could ram that thing 5 times with that warship and you're not going to do any damage compared to what I don't even know what this train weighs. Hundreds of tons, crazy amounts of weight. Oh, you would destroy that ship. There'd be nothing left. It would sink in port. I'd be sure of it.
Yeah, he must have been real confident that it would slide. He had enough momentum for it to slide across all the dirt, all these parking lots, and through a fence and everything, and still have enough momentum to actually hit the ship with a little bit of force.
Yeah, just roll over concrete. That's all it is. In this picture, it's just concrete. No rails, no nothing.
I was surprised to learn that these 2 hospital ships are not even for coronavirus patients.
No, yeah, they're backup for the city supposedly. So that's one of the things they don't want to do is bring coronavirus victims on there and make these ships the same deal. But if you have a ship ported right now, I mean, good luck. I don't see how you're going to stop it. It's just luck at this point. I mean, I hate to say it. We don't know where it is. We don't know where it's going. It's luck. And then when you look at like the Theodore Roosevelt, it's done.
Yeah.
It's a whole carrier. The carrier's done. It's not going to go anywhere at this point.
No, and there's only 10 of them, and maybe half of them are in. There's only maybe 4 on deployment at any given time, and that's one of them. So that's 25% of the whole, deployed carrier fleet out.
Yeah, I mean, but what do? They got like 5,000 people on them, right? You can't just stop 5,000 people from rolling in and out of that thing for forever. Right. I mean, they got to come off that thing eventually. And so the Navy's been doing. So if you even want to talk about Captain Crozier, right? So let's just talk about him just briefly, because I know a lot of people already, if they're watching this, they probably already know what's happening with him. But, he sent out a letter saying, hey, look, I got a lot of people infected on this thing. I got to get them off here. I can't just leave them here. We've seen that when it comes, and I'm paraphrasing, right, obviously, but, when we've seen passenger ships that get it, you can't just leave people there because then everybody gets it. And then you start finding out that people are getting it more than once, right? So it just becomes this like, just this snowball effect on the boat or the ship. So he's like, hey, I got to get these people off here. I can't leave them here. We got to figure out a way to get them off here. And so that's where you see the views kind of shift, right? And so in my view, I think that he's been saying that for a while. I think he's been telling people, hey, look, we got a problem. Can you help me? We got a problem. Can you help me? No, you can't. You're just running up the chain of command, right? Like, oh, you can't help me either. Okay, so I'm going to send this mass email out to a bunch of people. There's no classified information on here. There's nothing like that on here, but I'm going to send it out to a bunch of people and say, we have a huge problem. We got to get these people off the boat. Can we get them off the boat? And they fired him. After a day or two, they were like, you can't do that. You went above the chain of command or whatever their excuses is. I think there's like 3 or 4 of them at this point. You can't do that. You can't go out of your bounds and say that you need help because now everybody knows. Now everybody knows that we have this huge problem on the carrier and now we can't get the carrier out to sea. So now we have a huge national security problem. Well, you could call it huge, however you want to classify it, right? We have this carrier that's not out to sea now, and if we get more carriers that are infected with this, now people are just going to assume that it's going to be the same way. So you sent this out to everybody. It's your fault that everybody knows about this. Now we're going to fire you. And so you can see how that worked out, obviously, because and I'm gonna play the sound so you guys can hear it. But the crew was obviously pissed that the captain went out of his way to try to save these people from this virus that has a 5 to 10% death rate. Even though it's probably a little bit lower on the crew because they're younger and healthy, but still, they're like, hey, this dude's just trying to save us and we're stuck on this thing and nobody's helping us. What do we do? And so they fired him. And so this was his, they said, hey, you're not the captain anymore. You're now relieved. You got to leave the ship. And so this is him walking off the brow, and you can hear the crowd as they go through. That's crazy, man. I've never seen a captain get any type of walk-off like that ever. And he gets one because of what he did. He deserved that walk-off. I think the Navy fucked him. I hate to say it. I think they put a lot of blame on him for all this bullshit, and it shouldn't have happened. I don't know.
Yeah, and there's a lot of I wouldn't want to be on that ship with all the stuff going on. We saw the cruise ships, what happened there. There's a few people who had it. Ended up being 700 plus people.
Right.
Got it on that was it, the Diamond Princess.
Right.
And they didn't know what to do with it. They just kept it docked. They left everyone on it for a long time, and more people just kept getting it until they finally said, all right, we have to take everyone off here.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to lay a bunch of blame on the Navy because they don't know what they're doing at this point. Nobody knows what's going on. Everybody's just reacting, right? And it probably could have got a lot worse. They could have just made it way worse. But I feel like it could have been better. And there's a lot of senators that you've been seeing reacting to this, senators and representatives that are saying, yeah, this probably shouldn't happen this way. I think they messed up, and they probably shouldn't be doing it like this because he didn't do anything that went out of the bounds of classification, right? So for example, if you are a person in the U.S. military that is given classified information, right? So I was a submariner. I was given a secret clearance because I was given secret information, right? And so when you're given that, it's on you, right? You are given this information, you don't share it. If you share it, it's on you, right? And so none of the information that went in and out of this conversation was classified. So I find it really odd that they were just like, you're done. It seemed it seems like there's no real procedure that he failed. It's more of the untold procedures that you don't shit on your boss type deal that you got fired for. That seems to be the feeling that I'm getting from basically everybody. Is they fired him because he shit on his boss. You don't do that, and you probably shouldn't. It's not a good idea to go out in public and say your boss is not doing what they should. But what do you do when you're gonna kill people on your ship and you're the fucking captain, right? This is your boat. If this goes bad, it's on you. If it goes good, it's on you. It's all on you. It doesn't matter how this goes. It's all on you. So if you just let these people rot, it's on you. If you don't let them rot and you stand up for them and try to help them get healed and try to get some kind of access for them, then it's on you. And either way, it happens. So now these guys they got their own spots now. They got their own they got spots on Guam now. They actually bought hotels on Guam, and they have these procedures now where they basically lock the sailors into the hotel rooms, and they have the cooks, I'm assuming, the culinary specialists, the CSs, walking around and delivering food to the rooms, and then they leave, and then everybody comes out at like the kind of like the same time and picks up their food from the floor. And
Yeah.
it's kind of, it was like almost like deliver, almost like a concierge, but they don't walk into your room. It's not like a room service where they walk into your room and like serve it to you. They just put it on the floor and run away, and you have to go outside and pick up off the floor and eat what they give you. But everybody's in their own rooms, which is a better life than on a carrier. So
Yeah, that is probably, yeah. I know that's what they're doing now with my neighbor ordered some pizza, and I thought it was kind of weird at first. I saw the guy put it on the step, and he took like 10 steps back and just waited there. And then the pizza was gone. Then he went and picked up his little pizza warmer thing that they carry the pizzas in and walked off. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. They don't want to be in contact with anyone.
yeah, they have that new procedure now where they just drop it and run, right? And apparently there's a bunch of people that are getting screwed on tips because they're like, oh, well, I didn't sign for the tip, so you don't get a tip. So apparently a bunch of guys are like getting really screwed out of tips. It's supposed to be a big deal. But anyways, I don't know. We're all learning. Nobody knows what's going on
The
with this
other one
crap.
we want to talk about, yeah, to get away from all the depressing news. There's enough depressing news out there.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's still kind of on the topic. The USS Delaware you were talking about.
Yeah, so, well, I don't know why it's depressing. Why is it depressing? We got a new submarine. It's not depressing. It's great.
Well, it's still slipped. Right. Well, but you were saying that there was no commissioning ceremony? Because
Yeah,
of the
well,
coronavirus and
okay.
everything going on?
Okay, I should clarify that. It depends on your view of this. So yeah, I mean, that sucks. Like, there was no commissioning ceremony. I went to the commissioning ceremony for the South Dakota. I guess it was about a year and a half ago now, and or about a year ago, and it was great. It was a beautiful ceremony, man. It was South Dakota, right? So South Dakota, if you guys don't live in the United States, South Dakota's a big motorcycle state, and so they have Sturgis, and a lot of people came in. They just rode their motorcycles the whole way out to Groton, Connecticut, and so we had them. So it was a beautiful ceremony, man. Like, it was really great. Everybody, there was food, there was stuff to buy. It was almost like a little festival, for this submarine to be commissioned, and it was really cool to see. But you could tell it cost a lot of money. Like, you could tell that the tent they put up was enormous and probably cost a lot of money. To get the people out there, to get the food, to get all the people stand and watch. It was a lot of money. It was a lot of money to get that thing, to have a commissioning ceremony. And one of the things I always said was, and I'm not trying to like to like shit on the Navy at any way. Or I have no idea what they're going through, right? I have no idea what they're trying to do to get these things going. But I feel like they've always kind of pandered to the states to get money from them, so, oh, this is USS Delaware. So Delaware, the state of Delaware, will put money in to this commissioning, right? Because it's their submarine that's representing them. And I don't disagree with that at all. I think they probably should. I think the problem is that now you get these large, especially the carriers and the submarines, they're now named after presidents and states. And they probably will be for a really long time, because you can get the states to pay for these commissioning ceremonies, right? Nobody really cares to go to the commissioning of a destroyer because there's only a couple of hundred people. It's really small. There's no reactor. There's not a lot of money in it. But you go to the commissioning of a carrier, you're looking at 5,000 people. It's this huge deal, that we saw with the Ford and everything else. And the submarines are the same deal. Submarines, there's like 1,000 people that show up to those things. It is a huge deal when we put a submarine out there. And so, they didn't do that because of the coronavirus scare. They didn't have a commissioning ceremony. So I was like, well, and that sucks. I mean, we're losing a lot of, of culture in that aspect. But at the same time, like, maybe we could change the names to fish names. I don't know, right? We don't have to pander. We don't have to pander to Delaware for a submarine. We can say, hey, look, this is the USS, like the Blackfish, right? Like I've always said, the USS Washington should have been the USS Blackfish. They even own it as the Blackfish. They have black dolphins on their uniforms. Like people want more than just Delaware. I mean, Delaware's cool, but you know, whatever fish or crazy thing that's out of Delaware is probably way cooler than Delaware, right? And so you say it's sad, and it is sad that we don't have the commissioning ceremony. But why should we keep doing it? Maybe this is an example of why we shouldn't do it. Because I mean, everybody wants to see this shit. We want to have people out there looking at this thing, but it's all just shipyard workers. It's all people that are tied to the boat. It's all. I mean, it's almost impossible if you don't know somebody, if you're not part of the shipyard, if you're not part of the building crew, it's almost impossible to get into. It's like a crazy lottery. And the only reason I got to go is because one of the shipyard workers gave me a ticket. Gave me 3 tickets. And so I mean, I'll never be able to go again. There's no way I'll be able to get to go to any of these unless the Navy privately invites me. So it's not anything that people even get to experience. Besides, maybe the YouTube video you get to watch live, which is cool, but you don't need all that. I think that they should get away from it. I honestly think that they should just get away from the whole commissioning thing, get away from all that, start naming them cool names, market them way better. You could get more submariners in because they're not on some random black tube thing that nobody knows anything about. They're on the frickin' USS Tarpon, or the freaking, USS Thresher, like something named after something crazy, right? Yeah, it's just,
Or even
USS
the
New
cruise
Jersey.
ship we're talking about, the Resolute, some cool name like that.
Anything.
I got to go to. Well, I actually didn't get to go to. They had the USS Little Rock commissioning in Buffalo, New York, and I went down there. Like you were saying, I couldn't get a ticket. They sold out real quick. It wasn't anywhere near the size of a carrier or a submarine commissioning like you were talking about. Still a few hundred people there. It was for a Freedom class LCS, the combat littoral ships, and but I got to go walk around it and see it and stuff. Not actually on the ship, but from the outside, and talk to a few people in the Navy there about different things. It was nice to be able to go see it. And like you're talking about, they brought everyone in from Little Rock, Arkansas, up to Buffalo, and they're all excited. Well, we've never seen snow before. So they were excited to be there. And then the funny thing is, because obviously you can't take a ship over Niagara Falls, that's not gonna be good.
Right.
So they had to take it through the Welland Canal in Canada to get out into the St. Lawrence, and then out of the ocean. And we had a massive snowstorm blizzard come through, and all the water froze, and I got stuck on the Welland Canal in Canada for like 4 months.
Wow.
It was just stuck there for months. It wasn't a very good sign of a brand new ship that's supposed to be, cutting edge and state of the art and all that.
Right.
Stuck in the ice. But yeah, talking about warships in the Navy and everything, maybe we could move on. You and I have been talking a little bit about these couple new games that have been coming out.
Yeah.
They seem really interesting, stemming from the people who were working on Cold Waters, right?
Yeah, so Killerfish Games were the original people who made Cold Waters, which is, I think it's my favorite game, at least at this point, for the past 10 years. Because it's like one of the only 3D submarine games you can buy, right?
With good graphics, too.
Yeah, with actual, nice 3D graphics, right? And you could shoot accurate, almost super accurate, almost accurate enough to where it shouldn't be accurate. It's almost like I don't know how they figured out this info type of game, right? It's kind of like command, naval operations, right? So
I still have to get you to. I have to get you to play more Dangerous Waters. The graphics are nowhere near that level, but I got to get you into that. That's a lot of fun. I've spent so many hours on that in the last couple weeks.
And I think that's a good simulator in the fact that you can flip knobs and you can really feel the system. It's not just, click a missile,
it's not a game.
Hit space.
Yeah, it's more of a simulator than a game.
Right. Yeah, because you gotta spin the missile up. You gotta open the hatch. You gotta it's really in depth, right? And I'm not saying that that's not amazing, but it's more detailed than most people want to do. It's like playing DCS World. Nobody wants to sit there for 20 minutes and try to turn the airplane on.
Right. People want to, play Ace Combat and, shoot and have more action, which is fair enough. Who wants to do? you have your work and you want to relax when you're not working.
Right.
You don't want to have to do a whole bunch of more work and have to read a whole manual to figure out how to operate the thing.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
but yeah, that's one of my favorite. But I do like that stuff, so I spent a whole lot of time learning how to actually operate the submarine and work the sonar and all that stuff and do the TMA. But but yeah, so there's two games, right? War on the Seas and Sea Power,
Yeah. So
and they're both made by um
did we lose you?
no, I'm here.
Oh,
I thought I lost. Maybe we did lose connection. So these two games here, that War on the Sea and Sea Power, they're both made by people from Cold Waters, right?
yeah. So from what I understand, and this is all rumors. I don't work there or have really talked too much with the developers or anything. But from what I understand, you had Cold Waters. It was developed by Killerfish. Really cool game, and then it kind of died. And there's really not been too much done with it. There's been some
There's been
fan,
nothing done. Yeah, almost. Yeah,
yeah,
nothing
all
except fan made mods and stuff. Yeah, they
right.
just
Only fan made mods. That's all there was at this point, right? So, um, the rumor was that the people that were developing the game at Killerfish kind of split off, and so you had a bunch of people that decided to start their own game, which was called Sea Power, and we didn't know where Killerfish was going. And now it seems like Killerfish, and I should say seem, they actually released a video of their new game that they're going to release called War on the Seas. So I'm going to pull that up for you guys. And you guys, I think it's actually going to have sound and everything so you guys can hear it. But
yeah, definitely pull it up. And I don't know if you want to mention their just
yeah, I'm going to turn the sound down a little bit. Sorry, I had it a little bit high. But I mean, it looks very similar to Cold Waters, except it's got guns
oh.
and airplanes.
And you were mentioning too that this is set in 1983, right?
Yeah, so I don't know the actual date. I'm pretty sure it's 1983, but it's from what I understand, this is going to be set in a single like year, the single battle. I think it's going to be like the very end of World War II, from what I understand. And
Yeah, this looks more 50s, like the Air 40s even.
yeah, so yeah, that's what they've showed me. I mean, it's brand new. This was released a couple days ago. But I mean, it seems like a really cool game. I think that there's going to be a lot of competition when it comes to naval sims. Oh, I got sound coming in. Sorry. Oh, jeez.
Oh, Eric, did you see the comment on there? Somebody said we should name a submarine the USS Sea Sponge.
The sea cucumber. I like that too.
The sea cucumber.
That'd be nice. That's what they should. Yeah, like that would be the crazy secret submarines that just kind of creep along the bottom. You know?
The cucumber.
Yeah. So like the NR1.
It's shaped like a cucumber.
Yeah.
In a way.
I mean, NR1 should probably be called the sea cucumber because that's probably like really accurate. Obviously, when it comes to that. And sorry for the sound; it kind of came in randomly, but
Or the
anyways.
USS Dick.
Yeah. All right. So just kind of
real fast. And it doesn't sound dirty.
right.
Dick.
Anyways, so let's stop talking about sea cucumbers and everything. But another thing that I came across to get off of submarines and viruses and stuff is a patent that came across my Twitter account. So we Tyler Rogaway has a news article about a weird material that they found that they don't know what it's used for in regards to nuclear weapons. And
To be fair, real quick, just to give him credit, it wasn't Tyler actually. It was Joe.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So the Warzone, I should say. Sorry, not Tyler specifically, but Joe, who also works for the Warzone, came up with this article. But I got a reply in my Twitter account for a patent. And so you guys can read the article all you want on the Warzone. You totally should. It's an amazing article. But I got a reply for a patent that I just thought was super cool. That was random. And I don't know if it has anything to do with that article, but I just wanted to show you guys, which process for loading aerogel with tritium and other compositions produced thereby. But you know, we all know that aerogel is this weird kind of military substance, I guess. I don't even know the word for it at this point, but it's this kind of substance that they've built where it's a structure, but it's almost weightless. You know, you obviously can't build a house out of it, but it's really hard to develop. But you can put weight on it, and it's almost weightless. And so this patent shows how they have injected aerogel with tritium, and tritium being a product of thermonuclear weapons, right? They help boost the weapons. So I thought this was a really cool patent for you guys to look at. I'm not going to read through it. It gets super technical. I mean, it shows, and all kinds of stuff, you know, which does not contain zeolite crystalline material. You know, I could sit here and just get super technical on everything it does, and it's an amazing patent to look through. You know, in a preferred aspect of the invention, the exciting radiation is beta particles, the source of which is, for example, nickel 63, cesium 14, or tritium. Tritium is preferred, obviously, because it's for nuclear weapons, right? You don't want to use anything else because tritium works. So I don't know what you thought about that, but I thought that was a pretty cool find I came across.
Yeah, I'll have to look through it more.
Yeah, exactly. If I'm blowing Greg's mind, he don't know what's going on. It's a good find. You guys got to pick through this for sure.
I haven't even looked at it yet.
Yeah,
I'm like 10 seconds delayed because I'm watching our own stream on YouTube as well at the same time.
Oh, okay.
And it's a little bit delayed, but I'm looking through it.
Patents are a really cool way to look at, you know, kind of what the military is working on. You know,
absolutely, 100%. I've learned a lot of stuff that's probably very, very classified by looking through patents from 10 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I know people that are working on PhDs in nuclear weapons and have never seen this, and they're like, "Oh, this is pretty fucking cool, right?" Like nuclear anthro on Twitter, he saw this and he was like, "Wow, this is really cool. I've never seen this before." Right? These are guys that like work on this all the time. This is a really cool find that just kind of, I don't even know where it came from, to be honest. It could have been a Russian spy who sent this to me. I have no idea, but I don't know. It's open source. This is on Google Patents. You know, let me pull the banner up so you can see. This isn't some secret website. This is just Google Patents, so anybody can look this up.
Yeah, I found a bunch of stuff while you're doing that. I found a bunch of stuff on sonar, like ways of tracking ships, like with passive sonar and different techniques for using all that stuff that were written in the 90s and even the early 2000s that are now being implemented today.
Right.
But stuff you would never, that they keep real secret. And if I can plug my own video a little bit here, I made a video on sonar. I've been obsessed with sonar for a while now, and it's very, very hard to get information on it. But
yeah, let me pull it up.
I made a video on that. Oh yeah, sure. That I enjoyed and had Jive Turkey. He didn't give me any information because obviously that would be classified and he can't do that. But he kind of just glanced over it, the script before I finished the video to tell me if I was on the right track at least.
Oh, look at that sound. I like that sound. There you go. But yeah, so how submarines can see underwater. There you go.
Yep.
Let me kill the sound. But yeah. So this is what Greg does for his day job. and I'm super
That's what
jealous.
I
And
Yeah,
I wish I
we're
could do
home.
this. Ah, man. But yeah, I think that if you haven't seen this video, it's awesome. It's a super good video. I don't have anything. I couldn't find anything wrong with it. It's dead on. I completely agree with Jive.
But but anyway, yeah. The patent thing, absolutely. You can find out a lot of real interesting things. It's a real technical reading, and sometimes it's hard to understand it, but learn a lot of stuff through it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, you have to really pick through it, and you have to kind of understand what's going on. If you don't know anything about tritium, you wouldn't even know what this is. Or if you don't know what aerogel is, you wouldn't know what this is. It's just some random. Oh, it's just some dude trying to make something cool that I don't know anything about. You know.
You have to do a lot of googling. You have the Google patents, and you got to start googling a bunch of words and phrases and acronyms they use to try to figure out what they're even talking about.
Yep. So you got anything you want to talk about? I got one more thing, unless you want to bring up something.
The other things Cannon Fodder mentioned to us that I almost forgot about was just recently they had another Chinese ship ram into and sink. I believe they sunk it. Another Philippine fishing vessel.
I did
Hear
not
about
hear
that one?
about that. I did not hear about that.
But this has been going on for a while now, and I'm sure you've heard about some of the other ones. I mean, there's probably been 10 different. Maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe 5 at least that I know about. Fishing vessels from the Philippines that have been sunk by other Chinese ships, and a lot of times other Chinese fishing ships. And most people are saying that they're using this as a way to enforce their boundaries without actually resorting to military action to push the Philippines out of that area, because those islands that they're forming in the South China Sea are right off the coast, very very close to the Philippines. So that's been a contentious area for both China and the Philippines recently.
Yeah, I have heard that it seems like Plan, the Chinese Navy, has been paying fishing vessels to almost be mercenaries, almost like ramming mercenaries. I mean, there's not really much you can do
Yeah,
with a fishing vessel. We have seen in the past where you have ships hide guns inside the structure, but I think these fishing vessels are so small. There's not much you can do with them. Yeah, it seems like they're hiring them as mercenaries because you can't have Chinese official vessels floating in those waters. But you know, the fishermen, they don't give a fuck. They never have. They're everywhere. They're all over the South China Sea. They have never stopped into anybody's waters to go fishing. They go fish everywhere. They don't care. They have never stopped. And so it's easy for China to say, hey, look, you're already in there anyways illegally. Let me give you a little bit more money to maybe run into somebody if we need to. If you survive, you'll never have to work again. You don't have to go out to sea anymore. We'll give you, 500 grand and you can go buy a shack up in the middle or wherever you want and just never have to work again. Like, they have so much money and they have so many assets, and these fishermen are hurting so bad. They don't care. If the fishermen had resources in their own area and they didn't have to do this crazy shit, they wouldn't. But they
right.
do because they don't have a choice. There's just so many people in China and there's no fishing waters that they just will go all over the South China Sea and they'll just steal it because nobody's going to stop them. They're like hornets. They've just taken over so much of it that nobody can just deal with it anymore. And so why not
And
just pay them to run into something? Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of what was going on too over in Somalia, right? Like maybe 5-10 years ago, with all the Somali pirate stuff that was going on, Captain Phillips and all that stuff. That was I, they were saying that the reason why these Somali fishermen turned into pirates, trying to capture civilian cargo ships and all that stuff, and demand ransoms, was because they were all out of business. That other vessels from other countries, neighboring countries, had gone into their waters and started fishing because they've overfished everywhere else,
Right.
and that was one of the few areas remaining. So they were trying to do that for revenge. Not saying it's right or taking their side or anything, but that's just what they've said. Their reason for doing it.
Yeah, I mean, they're just following their
You had one
sonar.
other issue, one other topic you wanted to bring up?
Yeah. So I also wanted to bring up the
Nope.
the this kind of depresses me, and I don't know how to think
Yeah.
about this. It does depress me. It doesn't depress me. I think it's amazing, but it's still like I feel really jealous. I guess is the word to really describe it. But so David Larder, who's a writer for the Navy Times, kind of shared this thread, and I'm picking out one picture of it. But this is a picture of, you can read it. It's the lounge on board the. I think it's pronounced the Demood. I'm not sure. I don't know French, to be honest. But this is a lounge, just an E5, E6. So this is one of the lounges for the enlisted guys. This isn't like an officer lounge. This isn't like the captain's lounge. Nothing. This is for the lower ranking enlisted guys, kind of like the middle ranking enlisted guys, I guess you could say. And it looks like a spaceship. It just looks crazy. Like, I just can't imagine having bar stools and plush couches. I don't even know how it stays still. I'm sure they have it like mounted to the floor and everything, but being on a American submarine, the only thing I could ask for was my own rack and a curtain. Like, I couldn't imagine having a lounge to go hang out in. I mean, we had cruise mess, but people were generally eating there. I mean, you could hang out there if you had a chance. This looks like a spaceship. This is crazy. I wonder sometimes if we've lost focus. And I know that morale is a huge deal, right? I mean, if anybody is in the United States Navy, they know that they're dealing with morale problems, right? It sucks. It's the military. It's part of the deal, obviously. But it could be a little bit better. If you look at, so this is the cruise lounge of this is an amphibious ship, mind you. This is a smaller ship than like a carrier. Right? So I can scroll up to David Lauder's oh man. My computer's slowing down. Oh. Sorry guys. Let me go back. So this is what it looks like inside the Theodore Roosevelt. So this is a carrier. This is an American carrier, and this is what it looks like on every ship. It's not just carriers. Destroyers, they all look like this, right? You got 3 levels. You got large bunking, right? This is one of the reasons why the coronavirus was such a big deal, because people are just living right next to each other. Like, they're literally sleeping and breathing on each other. So this is what you get on an American ship. And then if you go to like a British ship, you get something like this, right? Type 45. Which is nicer, you get this nice curtain. There's like way less people. There's only 2 levels. So you're not having to like, what sucks about being in this top rack is you have to have something to pull on. So you have to like pull on the pipes to like pull yourself up to this top thing and hopefully not kick somebody on your way up or whatever. You're almost like a gymnast trying to get into this top rack. So you don't have that anymore, and now you have, it's a spaceship now, so I don't know, man. It's just, I don't want to say we have lost sight, but we've also, it seems to me that we don't have the same target. You know what I mean? Like, we're not trying to be as efficient, and maybe we don't. Maybe they're right. Maybe the French Navy's got it on point. Maybe they are right, and we should have shit like that for our military and our Navy guys. Because that sucks, man. Being out on a submarine for 6 months is hell, man. It's like prison. It's horrible. It sucks. And there's no way out of it. You're not getting out of it. There's no way. They'll shoot you before you try to leave, right? So it's like, what do you do? Maybe we should have life like that. But I don't know.
Yeah, just with the relative comfort that we all live in today, it's hard to probably acclimate to living in such close quarters like that. I mean, you've been on different World War II museum ships, right? Well, we went down to the one in Houston. The what was it, a battleship down there? We went to the World of Warships. I almost said the wrong one.
Yeah,
World of Warships event, and everyone's packed into these tight conditions, right? You had no space at all. It was just like a hospital rack going across, and it was like 4 of them right on top of each other. Even 5 of them in some places. You had 5 people just in one vertical spot.
and they're just like on chains, like they're sleeping on chains. It's crazy. Yeah, I mean
That's it,
I mean that's how they had to do it. So obviously conditions get better, and they should get better, right? Production's cheaper. You can make bar stools cheaper than you could 100 years ago, I guess. Obviously, but and you need to make morale a deal, right? You look at these guys on the Theodore Roosevelt, they're fucking miserable because they're getting ravaged by a virus, right? Their morale is shut down because and I'm sure they don't care anymore. I'm sure those guys are on watch like, fuck this place. I do not want to be here, right? I'm sure there's obviously special that do want to be there and try to do the best they can, right? But, there's a lot of people like, man, like this is crazy. Like, why are we dealing with this? Our own captain says we shouldn't be dealing with this, right? So, morale is a huge deal. And, what if those guys had a lounge like that? Would it make it any better? Yeah, probably not. Not in this situation. But if you're on deployment, having a lounge or having a big old plush couch to pass out on, probably pretty cool. Like, I've never been able to pass out on a plush couch.
Yeah.
I passed out on Naga hide. We used to call them Naga naps. Just it's a fake leather or whatever that stuff was. But
yeah, it's got to be a difficult balancing act between morale. You want morale to be high. At the same time, you want people to not be too comfortable. You don't want them to be on a cruise ship type situation, right? Where it's all just relaxed, kick back. You got to drink, a drink in your hand and all that stuff. But you got to have a balance somewhere where you understand you're there to fight and defend your country.
Yeah, and I mean, like most European ships, they you have a beer allowance for the day, right? You have you could get a beer, like they bring multiple kegs underway, and you get a Stella for the day or whatever. Like, could you imagine? I couldn't imagine sitting on a plush couch watching a flat screen TV, drinking a Stella underway. Like, that blows my mind. Or wine. I'm sure I'm sure if they're French, they probably have some like nice wine they can drink with some nice cheese or whatever. But shit, man, I couldn't imagine. The world's changing, man. We got warships getting taken out by passenger ships and amphibs with spaceship settings. I don't know. Crazy, man. But I don't have anything else to talk about. I figured this would take a lot longer, but we really powered through it. We only got an hour. Not bad for a show. We generally take about 2 hours to babble on about whatever we're talking about.
We covered a lot of topics too.
Yeah, man. It was a good show. I really like this show. If you don't have anything else, I think we should kill it. Call it an early night.
No, yeah.
Definitely. Sorry if we were talking over each other. We're separated. Generally, Greg and I are together when we do our podcast, and we can actually see each other when we want to talk. So we just babble on top of each other. But sorry for all that. We're trying to do our best like everybody else. And you have anything you want to shout out real quick? We already shouted out your latest YouTube video. Anything else?
No, I don't really have anything going on right now. I got to work on a video of my own here to have out soon. But other than that, no, not really.
Well, make sure you check out the Commando store and pick you up some 50-pound bags of wheat flour. I'm sure there's some really nice things to do with that besides making tortillas with. Yeah, man, enjoy your night. We're gonna have a show next week. Hopefully with Doc again to talk about the coronavirus. I understand that our coronavirus video aged very poorly. I mean, like,
yeah, I wish it did not. But,
yeah.
But to be fair, I do believe, I'll have to go back and listen to it, but I do believe that Doc did specifically mention in there. He said, I think we're good. I think this is about to die out unless we have a few super seeder events, which is exactly what happened, right? We had one in South Korea, we had one in Iran, and one in Italy.
Yeah,
and then it's all gone off from there.
It seems that way. I mean, and that was why we brought Doc on. I'm a submarine expert. Greg is kind of a general military expert. We don't know shit about viruses, so that's why we brought Doc on. So we're gonna bring him on again next week. Hopefully, we haven't finalized yet, so I'm not making any promises. But we're gonna do our best.
He doesn't even know about it.
Yeah,
Ask him first.
yeah. He. I should say he wants to come back on to explain what happened.
He does,
So.
yes.
We have agreed to do a show next weekend. So regardless of what happens, we're going to do a show, even if it's just kind of a news update or whatever we're going to do. We're going to try to get Doc back on next weekend because we're going to do a show anyways. So let me clarify that. Sorry, Doc. I'm not trying to just call you out if you're listening. But so we're going to do our best and just kind of explain a little bit more on the coronavirus and everything, give you guys an update. I know you've probably heard a million updates on the coronavirus probably every day, but
Oh yeah, and we're not for all that stuff either. We're not going to go over how many cases there are. Our hospitals are running out of equipment, all that issues that are you don't always hear about in the news.
yeah, we'll definitely cover some unique stuff when it comes to this this virus because there's been some really crazy stuff that's happened that would never have happened without this virus. Just to give you a little slight example, Russian aircraft flying into our airspace. So, just to give you a little teaser about some of the stuff we want to talk about. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys for joining us. I really appreciate it. Me and Greg live off you guys, so thank you for joining us and giving us your time and everything that you enjoy about our show. And if you need anything, hit me up on Twitter at KingNeptune767. You can hit up Greg on Twitter at Covert Cabal. And we'll do everything we can for you guys. Thank you guys for joining us. I really appreciate it.
All right. Yep. Thanks.